Hey, Cortavius here. Been putting a lot of thought into this Path of the Lost and whether it's worth it or not. So, wanted to give you my thoughts on it. I won't spend too much on the path. I assume you've taken a look at it already, but you've got a few choices. You can come down the right side here and pick up this key, and then come right down the middle, use your key, grab a Lego book, and get the champ. So if you want to get the champ, that is 92,250 points, which is 20.5 sacreds if you do no dungeon divers. Obviously, you can lower that shard count if you burn a bunch of energy. If you want to then add the soul, that's expensive because you got to come down the left side all the way, get the other key, then come in here. You can use the key, grab a Lego book, and get the soul. That's an extra 87,750 points or another 19.5 sacreds or 40 sacreds to get the champ and the soul. That's a lot of sacreds. Obviously, you can use other shard types. You can use voids. You can use primals. It's a good value, but primals, I'd never pull a primal outside of 2 times. So if I'm getting a champ and a soul using primals, I'd say screw that. So sacreds are the most efficient. If you want to just come down, and then if you say, well, hey, if I'm doing all that, I might as well grab the mythical materials too, so I can have a 20% chance to get a mythical relic. That's another 30,000 points because you can just pick that up when you've already got the key here. And that's another 6.7 sacreds or 46.7 sacreds if you want the champ, the soul, and the relic. Obviously, you can mix and match those. If you want to just come down the left side, so coming all the way down the left side and then come down and just grab the mythical materials, that is 12.8 sacreds. And you can probably drop that down to 10 sacreds and do some dungeon divers or something, right? Campaign.
Hey, before we go on, click the link in the description right now and you can get the great legendary poisoner, Narma, along with 3 epics. You get Anax, Mausoleum Mage, and the best epic in the game, Uugo, as you progress. All you have to do is follow 4 steps. Step 1, log out Play and Play on the PC and uninstall. Step 2, click the link in the description and register with a brand new email. Step 3, launch raid, complete the tutorial. And step 4, go to your inbox, Narma's there waiting. These 4 free champions will give you an insane head start in raid, so click on that link before it expires.
So you can pick up relic materials for 10 sacreds. It's a 20% chance to get a mythical relic from that. I mean, if you get the mythical relic, it was all worth it. If you get another legendary relic you already have and didn't need, you just burn 10 sacreds or 10 to 12 sacreds. So it's a gamble. I mean, that is this game. So it's not easy to get these materials. So for the cost of 10 sacreds, I can't argue with people who would come here and say, that's my best shot at getting a relic, a mythical relic. And if you can get that, particularly to me, if you can get in the standard, the one I want more than anything is this Crown of Corruption, which gives just insane speed to your champ. I mean, insane. So, but this is a 5% chance to get this one. You got a 5% chance for that one, a 5% chance for the Covetous, and a 5% chance for each of these. So any mythical relic you get, you'd be pretty happy with. But you got a good chance just to get another wand of submission, which I just pulled like 4 of those on my account in the last video. So you don't know. It's an 80% chance. 4 out of 5 people will be disappointed. So you can spend some sacreds to get that. So back to the champ and the soul, though. I think what that brings up is the champ worth that investment or not? So if we just look at Balor and we talk about his kit and functionality, because that's where it really comes down. I mean, the A1, nice protection in his kit because he can put a shield on himself. That can help you in something like Scarab Boss, by the way, where you need a shield. Helps keep him alive anywhere. And he's an attack-based champ. I mean, he's not going to be the best. I mean, he's only got 15,000 HP, 1,000 defense, so he's going to be squishy. So putting a shield on himself is helpful. And then he's got a 50% chance, 75% chance when booked to use poison sensitivity. And let's stop for a second and talk books. He takes 13 books. I think you have to book him. So I think if you're pulling this champ, you're thinking about whether you put 13 books into him too, because without the books, he can do his poison explosion that I'll get to on the next skill. But most everything else is just not as good unbooked. So he's got a 50% chance to land his poison sensitivity. It's an A1, so you'll come back to that if you miss it. But you are still going to use these other 2 skills. So you're not going to use the A1 that much. And if you miss it, you don't land the poison sensitivity, which is a useful piece of his kit. So the books here on the A1 are actually valuable because it bumps this up to a 75% chance. If you end up with sniper, it's 80. That depends on whether you get that mastery. So he brings poison sensitivity, gives himself a shield on the A1. Decent. So the A2, he puts a leech out there on all enemies, which helps to keep the team alive. And he instantly activates poison on all enemies. So as I said, the poison activation here does not require books. That's good. But the leech is only 75% chance, so you're getting your chance to do more leech. And importantly, you're dropping the cooldown of that skill down to 3. So if you want to use him to clear waves, the difference between 4 turns and 3 turns is huge because you want him, he has to get that skill back to keep exploding those poisons. So that books on this skill are really important. But you've got AoE leech and you got AoE poison explosion. It's a really good skill. And then on his A3, single target again, puts increased accuracy on all allies and 75% chance to place a decreased resistance on all enemies for 2 turns, and then places 3 poisons on the target if the attack is critical. Now, affinity matters here. He's a spirit champ, so if you attack a magic champ, you may not place the poisons on anything but, well, you may not place any poisons in that case. But if you want to do AoE poisons, he's got to crit. So you need to have 100% crit on him and make sure he's not in a stage where he could hit a magic affinity. On auto, if there's a choice, they will avoid that. Obviously, you wouldn't want to take him into a magic-based boss. The increased accuracy on this A3 is nice because he does place that before attacking. And the A3 is the first skill you should use anyway. So he'll buff with accuracy, so he gets the accuracy buff before he attacks. Now, he puts decreased resistance out there, but you can't plan for that in his kit because he has to land the ability first. So that decreased resistance will help the rest of your champs on the team have less accuracy in their kits. But he needs enough accuracy with the increased accuracy buff to be able to land these poisons. Now, when he comes back around for the poison sensitivity, then the decreased resistance should be out there to help him. But you really want to land the poisons. So you can't use the decreased resistance in your math of how much accuracy you're putting on him. And he does take accuracy because he's got the poison sensitivity, he's got the leech, and he's got poison. So you got to put enough accuracy on him for whatever content you want, which will limit any damage that you thought you were going to get from him. And I've seen some play tests with him. I don't think his damage is very impressive. It's not really worth putting too much damage on him. I think his damage is through the poison explosions and poisons. Really feels more like how he's hitting. And most of his true attacks are single targets anyway. So that would help against bosses, but it's not like he's clearing waves by doing anything other than exploding poisons. And then he does have a accuracy aura. That can be really good for progressing, or if you do have him in the lead, you can lower the accuracy requirements again for the team. A lot of times you want a speed lead depending on where you're at, but he does bring a relevant accuracy for all battles, which is good. So where can you use him? I think he's good in wave-based content. If you want to clear waves, I don't think he can't solo and stay alive from what I've seen. So he's going to be good with champs like Artak, Teodor, and Calvalax, but Artak and Teodor, they can solo on their own. So he'd speed up the run so he could farm faster. But typically if you're farming with an Artak or a Teodor, you're not in it for the speed anyway. And now you're dropping one of your food to put him on the team. Seer's going to be faster if you're not, farming food. Nishak can do dragons hard on his own without him. Now, if you don't have Nishak, then that certainly could be a difference. And if you don't have Teodor, if you don't have Artak, so he is a wave clearing guy. I think you're going to have to give him help though. He's not going to single it, but he could duo. So you could farm food with him. So he does bring that. That could be compelling depending on the champs you have. He is supposed to be good in Chimera, primarily for the 6 trials he brings. So he's not going to be your damage dealer. He's bringing poison explosion, which is not really a good Chimera damage source versus a lot of other options. So I don't see him as the damage. I think you're bringing him in to do trials. And he brings in 6 trials, according to the Hades website. I looked into the detail, though, and said, well, for teams that I would typically run and where he would be unique, like Leech, for example. He has Leech in his kit, which is a trial. There are other champs that can do Leech, though. Lydia's an obvious one, but yet I got to complete Faction Wars. So he does bring Leech, which is helpful. But there's other options for Leech. So I looked at where would he really help, like my main account, do trials that I don't typically do now. And what I find is in the Lion, there's a decreased resistance trial that I don't do today that he would open up for me. If he did that though, the next trial is a reflect damage pain link trial. I don't have anybody to do that. So for me, he would unlock one lion trial, which has 9 epic materials available from getting that trial. That's not too compelling for me. On Viper, he does trial 2 easy, which is poison and poison sensitivity. So he would unlock an easy Viper trial for me. And then the next 2 trials on that path are to keep your champs alive for 3 turns against Viper. And then the next trial is to revive either a single target or if you have an A revive, to revive everybody. Those seem problematic on the same boss, because if I can survive for 3 turns against that boss, why am I reviving somebody? So I feel like you've got to choose, and to get to the revive one, the hard trial, the third trial, the revive one gives 4 mythical materials. That's the one you'd want. But that's problematic because I had to have gotten through the trial that said I have to keep everybody alive first. And generally, I think chimeras are problematic where if I build a team that can stay alive and isn't going to get killed for 3 turns, then how am I reviving somebody? Unless somehow I can kill my own team. You know, some champ in the game can do that, but are you going to put them on a Chimera team? So I find those trials problematic to get to that 4th mythical material. Let's assume you can figure that out though, and figure out how you stay alive in one of his turns to make it through the 3 turns alive. And then the second time around, you find a way to kill somebody on your team, get somebody killed. I don't know. If it was Ram, I think I could do that easier, but Viper's harder. So maybe you don't lock out his skills and let him kill somebody in the second round. Maybe that's how you do it. So if you could do that, there are 4 mythical materials available on that path that he would unlock. So, but is that worth 20 sacreds for you and you're going to put him on the team? And are you losing any other trials because you put him on the team for those trials? So for me though, that's 3 trials I think he'd pick up for me, one of which I care about that gives me 4 mythical materials. And I haven't thought through who would he replace on the team, and does that cost me trials somewhere else? So do I lose 4 mythicals to pick up 4 mythicals? So anyway, that's how I evaluated the trials for him. Personally, I don't think I go get him just to add those trials, because I assume I'm going to have other options over time. If I really wanted to do decreased resistance, I think doesn't Supreme Kale or Dark Kale or one of those guys, Supreme Kale, bring that anyway? And he's not on our team now. So would I bring Balar just for that? I don't know. So dungeons, he can do work in the dungeons. So he can do work in the dungeons with this poison explosion skill that he's using. Problem is that was nerfed in all dungeons but dragons. So dragons, he could be useful. He's not going to do it by himself. He's going to die. So you're going to have to bring help. As I said, if I have Nishak, I'd rather use him. And there's other champs. But, pair him with a Teodor, an Artak, a Bad Owl type, and you can probably duo dragons. And then Ice Golem, he would be useful in hard Ice Golem and regular. So he's got a couple places in the dungeons he could be used, but I think there's other champs that can do those. So I don't know that he's worth it for that. PvP, I just don't see him in PvP. Yeah, with this skill, you could put on the Araxin Elixir. You could put him in the Araxin Elixir Relic, and you can give him Lethal Dose. So Lethal Dose will then give him a chance to increase damage from poisons by 200%. Problem is, he's not like Calvalax that puts it out at the start of the round. So you're either going to have to go first, in which case they could have Stone Skin, they could be Magic Affinity, and he's not going to do anything. Or you're going to go second and let them clear their Stone Skin if they have it. But now you got to keep this attack-based champ alive, just to try and use this Araxin Elixir and Lethal Dose strategy. That only works if you got the soul for him, because he's got to have good enough blessing to do enough damage. And I have Calvalax with the 1-star and it doesn't do anything. Maybe 3-star works, but now are you pulling 40 sacreds to get the 5-star soul just to do an arena strat with this guy? 40 sacreds? Yeah, you're not doing that. So PvP, I don't see. Faction Wars, he certainly would be helpful against both the waves and the bosses in both normal and hard. He brings value there, but I don't think you go get a champ just for Faction Wars, to be honest. So, but he definitely would have value there. So then you get to pulling the shards as well. I don't think you're pulling Ancients. That's not bright. So you do have Cheshire Cat in there. I'd love to get him. I mean, he's fantastic. If you don't have Thor, he's fantastic. Those are the 2 I'd pick out of those. So Cheshire Cat would be my pick. Now, if I knew I was going to get him while pulling shards, I'd be pulling shards. But you don't know. And these epics are all pretty useless. I mean, Ferrigan's actually not bad, but none of these epics are exciting. They're all parts for Mikage, though. So if you're missing Mikage, that's another reason that this could be helpful to pull, because you might be pulling 20 sacreds with 20 chances to get epics, and on a progressive, your odds of getting them are pretty good. So you got the Mikage chance there. So where does that leave me? No 2 times, just a progressive. I could pull 3 legendaries and not get the cat. I could pull 20 epics. For a champ that really, this is my free-to-play. Shockingly, for me, my main has no poison exploders, funny enough, but I don't even know what my main would use poison explosion for anymore. That mattered back in normal dungeons when poison explosion was a fast team. I have Seer, and I have Marius's and Nishax and Artax of the world, so I tend to solo farm, and none of these guys fit Fire Knight, but even my free-to-play has Zavia, which does Poison Explosion, and I've got the door I picked up somewhere in here as well that does Poison Explosion. So, amazingly, my free-to-play has better Poison Exploders than my main does. So with Zavia and Theodore already on the account, yeah, sure, I could use this guy in Curse City, but 20 Sacreds? Now, this account's sitting here with 44 Sacred Shards, so I have the shards. But I had up to, I think, 55 or 60 on this account a few weeks ago, maybe a month. So Plarium's been doing well to give us Titan events or fusions or decks that have burned Sacreds for me. So would I cut my Sacreds in half to pick this guy up? Even on the free-to-play, I have 2 Poison Exploders, which I really don't use. I will get Theodore running. And yeah, he'd help in Faction Wars, but yeah, actually, Faction Wars for Sylvan Watchers. I have no damage dealers, and I have 63 points in Faction Wars because basically all my supports can just keep a team alive all the way through the end. So I don't need them for normal, and I'm a ways away from caring about hard Faction Wars. So even the free-to-play is going, I could go pick him up, but is he really that impressive to me? I think I'm going to skip. Now, the relic materials, would I burn 10 Sacreds on this account for a 20% chance? A legendary relic would be a nice add to this account. Have to admit that. But do I burn 25% of my Sacreds for a shot at 25% shots at a mythical? Find myself skeptical about that too, to be honest. So free-to-play is thinking about skipping the whole thing. Now, the main, I don't think I use the champ, to be honest. I think there's too many options in Chimera. I don't think I'm pulling them in just for a couple more trials. So I don't think the main cares. Now, the main has like 150 Sacreds. I just don't think I care. So I don't think the main's going for him. Maybe I'll change my mind by Sunday, and if so, I'll post a video. But for now, I just don't think I care. I'm not pulling 40 Sacreds, even though I happen to get a champ and the soul. I just think for a champ, I don't even know if I'll use. I'm certainly not getting the soul. And then when you look at the relic materials, that one's a little more tempting. That for a guy with 150 Sacreds, would you burn 10 of them to go get a 20% chance at a relic? That one's a little more tempting for me. Once again, if I knew I could get the Crown of Corruption, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I got a 5% chance. I've already done that once you saw my video trying to get mythicals. If you haven't, on relics, I pulled 200 relics. Go watch. I took a shot at that for 5%. I guess every time you roll 5%, you got another chance of getting it, but man, you could roll 55% and still not land it. So that's frustrating. But maybe that's why you save the shards, so you can take a shot at those things. So I usually like getting sure things out of my shards, so the champ, but I've skipped plenty I've skipped guaranteed champs, and I can't say I've regretted one yet that I've skipped. So, I could see skipping this one, and I don't think I'll regret it. Can you regret not pulling a 20% chance on a relic? I don't think so, because you're going to assume you wouldn't get it anyway. That one I might end up doing. We'll see. If you see me posting a video, you'll see I decided to do it. But anyway, feel free to comment below. If you got piles of shards, do you think you'd pull for this champ? Do you think you'd go after a 20% chance at a relic, or would you say, screw that, that's only a 20% chance? Now, it's an 80% chance you're going to get a legendary relic too, which can certainly be helpful. But what do you think? What would you guys do if you had the shards I have? 150 on the main and like 44 on the free-to-play. Thinking about skipping the whole thing on both, but I could see taking a shot at the relic on the main. Anyway, that's where I'm at. This got far longer than I wanted. Hope it was informative to you. If so, please like and subscribe. Thank you.